All right. Test.
Test.
Test. Ching! Convincing idiots. Press start. Bum. Choose your fighter. Millennial Nick. Gen X Brian. Zennial Dean. We are back here on Convincing Idiots for our third and final segment this evening.
Yeah.
We are discussing another Mount Rushmore, but this time we are discussing our Mount Rushmore of video games. That's right. We are men of many tastes. We like a lot of different things. We like music. We like comics. We like movies and TV and all that stuff. But we don't talk enough about video games, and especially coming from three different generations, what fun it might be, we thought, to discuss our Mount Rushmore of video games. So, I don't know about you guys. I know, Brian, you've ridden the wave of video games for a long time. You certainly
Brian,
have some
your
of the earlier
first one
consoles.
was where you had those sticks and you were just hitting the squirrel, right? That was your first video game?
Yeah.
Actually, the first one we had the original Pong on the television, the original one.
Okay.
Before the Atari.
It was
that was
just
the first
Pong.
one.
You hooked up the TV and
that was it. Boop, boop, boop. That was amazing back then.
Brian was there right at the beginning. I had the benefit of having a father who loved video games as much, or that's how I love video games, because my dad had to have every system when it came out. He was super into technology and video game systems, so I grew up with an assortment, the array of video game systems. And Dean, you've dabbled in video games in your day, have you not?
Yeah, well, yeah. My parents, when I would ask them for the newest system, and they would beat me with potatoes.
Okay.
Until
that's
I
kind
saw,
of a game, really.
Yeah,
that's a game, you know.
Yeah, because I saw stars and stuff, because they were nice enough to use a sock.
That's nice.
So they beat me until I saw stars, which was kind of like video game-ish. So it was a lot of fun.
Okay, cool. So different points of view is what we're getting at here. That's what we're That's why you listen to the show, after all. So we're going to discuss our Mount Rushmore of video games. So Brian, let's start with you and just work our way through the generations. We'll go Brian, Dean, Nick around the table. So Brian, let's start us. Why don't you start us off?
My number one, I'll end with the other ones are, I could mix up the order, but I'm going to give you, on the Nintendo Entertainment System, Mortal Kombat, the first Mortal Kombat.
It's one of my honorable mentions there, yeah.
Yeah, the original one just had the main characters.
That wasn't on the NES, was it?
Yes, it was. Oh, yes, yes, indeed.
Huh?
Yes, indeed. It had the.
I had it on the Sega. So
okay,
yeah, we did too.
This was I think this was the first version of it ever. I think was that on the NES.
Okay.
Again, had the main big characters: Raiden, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Kano. And you fought
Johnny Cage, Liu Kang, Sonya Blade.
Sonya Blade. That was it, right? That was it. And then you fought Shang Tsao was the main guy. You had
Goro.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Who was just a motherfucker on that game. I loved it. I mean, there was a whole different look. Obviously, when they made that game, they literally had actors they were shooting to portray the characters and everything. And then you had the whole fatality and all that. Just the original version, so much fun. You didn't have all 4,000 characters and all that shit. But this was the start of that mega franchise. Obviously, there's tons and tons of other versions. I do have other Mortal Kombat versions, other gaming systems throughout time. Nintendo 64 has a version of the arcade, PS2, PS3. Is all kinds of different versions.
Mortal Kombat 11 on PS5 is wild.
I imagine.
It's crazy how
I have 10 on the Xbox right now.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah.
Fucking movies of Mortal Kombat, as we know, it's just a huge mega franchise and all that. All started with that original version. One of my favorite games of all time. There you go.
That's right. May I say, my favorite way to play Mortal Kombat to this day is on a good old-fashioned stand-up arcade. That's just, when you got to an arcade and you had Mortal Kombat on one of I mean, it was just, I don't know, just button mashing and all that shit. I mean, I don't know. I love Mortal Kombat on an arcade. But yes, incredible game. Yes, very good. Good pick. Dean.
All right. I'm going to go old school. At least, I mean, not like total old school like Pong, but I'm going to go Super Mario Brothers.
Sure.
Okay.
And for me, if we're going my Mount Rushmore, I can't even. It was close to going the first one, but I've got to go with Super Mario Brothers 3.
Okay.
Because it gave you depth. You were able now to run back and forth. You could fucking fly as a raccoon.
Yep.
The underwater sequence. I mean, when it came out, the look of it, comparative to the first two. Now, the second one was a huge jump, but it was very weird, and it actually wasn't supposed to be of a Super Mario Brothers game. They took a different game, and they needed a Super Mario Brothers game, so they just took Super Mario Brothers and superimposed it over this. I can't remember the other game that it was originally was, but Super Mario Brothers 2 was not supposed to be a Super Mario Brothers game. So Super Mario Brothers 3, I look at as the sequel to the first one. So look of it, the feel of it. It is. I look at when you guys brought up this subject, I thought to myself, what games do I think of that produce a feeling? Not like, oh, I love to play it, but like Mortal Kombat. I will talk about in a minute. Mario Brothers 3 produce a smell in my brain. You know what I mean? Like I remember that childhood sitting there, the smells of the house that I'm at, that, you know what I mean? Like the whole deal. They produce all of these games that should, on your Mount Rushmore, should produce in your brain memories that strong. And to me, Super Mario Brothers 3 is that strong feeling. It produces all of those, feels, right?
Yeah.
So Super Mario Brothers 3 is first on my list.
Fantastic. I'm going to start off real simple here because of my love for sports video games. Chell, NHL, whatever year from EA Sports. I love hockey games. There's been many different renditions of them across different systems over the years. But once the hockey video games made it to, and I'd say most sports video games, when they made it to like PlayStation 2 especially, when EA Sports got in the mix and got their hands on Madden, NHL, they had NBA Live at the time. They even had an NCAA game. The NHL franchise to this day is the game that I play like 90% of the time. It's just the easiest thing to plug in, play a game for 20 minutes to a half hour, and I love it. They each year they continue to update the what's the word I'm looking for? The physics of it, how the bodies move off of each other, stick handling. There's different things. But if I had to pick out a year, I would say 2003. And that's probably because that was one of the first years they really introduced the players started looking a little more detailed. The hits were bigger. You could do more with the puck. And 2003 also, it just happened to hit in a time where I'm, 13 years old or something like that. So I had a lot of free time on my hand to play through that game constantly. They introduced new game modes like Be a GM mode and franchise mode where you could run your team and offer different contracts to players, build your roster really in depth. It was more than just playing the actual game, but it was more strategy off the ice of it as well. So obviously I had to have a hockey video game in there, and being that I play them so much, but I'll say NHL 2003 for me is my first one. So Brian, next.
Very good. I talked about it on prior episodes. The very first video game cartridge that I opened up on Christmas morning as a child. This gift as a kid, I don't know of any other gift as a child that brought me more joy and excitement than opening this up still vivid memories to this day. I can still picture sitting under the tree with the cartridge labeled "Open Me First," and totally shocked that I got this as a gift. It was like a dream gift that I circled in the JCPenney Christmas catalog, and my parents got it for me.
You would never have thought in a million years your parents liked you that much.
No, absolutely not. Right? That's the year I got the Atari 2600, but the first cartridge I opened up was Space Invaders.
Nice.
Space Invaders is just a solid game, but just the joy of getting that game, playing it on Christmas morning. There's still, I go back and play it. It still brings back those.
Right?
It really is.
Yeah.
Right. Just the emotions and the feelings, and just playing that on Christmas Day. It was a very good version of the arcade game for the Atari. So just for and Space Invaders is a solid game anyway. Simple, fun to play, easy to learn,
but still
all that
difficult
stuff.
as shit.
It is. It gets
like
very
once
difficult.
you get to the fifth level, it's really goddamn hard.
Very hard. And the aliens move faster and faster and faster. So it definitely does.
I can't even imagine, because we're advanced right now, and I can't imagine what your tiny little 70s brains were doing back then.
That's right.
It was weird.
That's right. So anyway, all things it's a great game, and just the joy that game brought me has to make my list. Space Invaders from the Atari 2600. Dean?
All right. I'm kind of going to go the same, Brian. The same concept. I remember back, it was 1980, I wanted to say 86 or 87. We had previously, in the early 80s, we had not only Atari, but Nintellivision.
Yep.
Television was the weird, it had the slide level. So once we
was
had
the hazelnut chocolate spread colored video game system?
Yeah, it's very wooden.
Yep.
But
little disc.
Yeah, it was very weird, and it kind of wasn't great, right? So it kind of faded off. But then the Nintendo came out. 86 probably, right? And that was the craze, and not in a million years would we think that that Santa would bring our family a Nintendo. It's just not what happens. But it did. And we, there was 4 of us kids, and all of us opened up our individual, and then there was the one main gift, and all of us ripped it open. The 2 girls could care fucking less that we got a Nintendo, but us 2 boys were ecstatic about it. But that leads us to later that night when my aunt comes over that night, and we open, to me, one of the most solid, beautifully crafted video games, especially for that time. God damn it. We played Mike Tyson's Punch-Out for hours and hours and hours.
Good game.
Oh my God. From Glass Joe to Soda Popinski. I even as a code, if when you go to start the game, 007-373-5963 is the code to get straight to Mike Tyson. Everybody remembers the Contra, the ABA up down start whatever.
Yeah.
To me, it's 007-373-5963.
I had mine.
That is the code.
AABBA. That is the level skip for Aladdin on Sega Genesis forever in my brain.
There you go. So to me, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out left that fucking the numeric code embedded in my brain.
Yeah,
it was
awesome.
It was so amazing.
Yeah.
So
did Mike you ever defeat Mike Tyson?
I never do it. I watched my cousin do it. Rest in peace, Aaron. But I watched him do it once. It was fucking amazing.
Nice.
But I could never do it.
I love those moments of just in those video games where you're with your. Those are some of the best, good moments in childhood when you're with your friends and somebody's about to do something amazing, and you name the game, it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah,
but something that seems impossible and your friends doing it, it's just like
you're holding your breath. It's like you're there.
Everybody,
with them.
As a young boy, is like, Anyway,
the older I got, I that's why mine is all kind of like earlier stuff because I'm not very good at video games, even to this day, and a lot of my like teenage 20s whatever years, video games is me watching. Like my friends play these awesome games because I'm shit at them. I'm the first player. I get in a corner and blow myself up every time. So I enjoyed watching other people play them like it was a goddamn movie. So yeah, I get that.
Yeah. Very good. Nick, let's just say Dean still enjoys watching. What's your next game, Nick?
Okay, my next one. My next one was also a Christmas present, actually. So, Nintendo had Mario.
Is it your dad's attention?
Yes, right. No, I didn't get that. Nintendo had Mario. Sega had Sonic, and when PlayStation came out, they had their own, which was Crash Bandicoot. That was their
I forgot
flagship.
about him.
And Crash Bandicoot, what was so cool because PlayStation had the better graphics, was the newer system, and Crash Bandicoot was one that you didn't just move horizontally across the screen in a linear pattern. It was a full range of motion. It was an open concept. You could go side to side. You could take different paths, go forward, go backwards. It was up and down.
Couldn't it be like 360 degrees at some point? Like the camera almost spun around him?
Yeah. There was different. I mean, there was some where there was levels in every Crash Bandicoot where you're running from something. In the early ones, there was a level where like a boulder would chase you, and you're running at the screen, dodging things as it's coming to get to the next checkpoint. Right. Yeah, and then like Crash Bandicoot 2 was a giant polar bear, and so on and so forth. But the Crash Bandicoot games are definitely on mine. Specifically, Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back. That was the first video game I ever completely beat all the way on my own. Beginning
I've never done
it. It was very trying at times. I'd thrown controllers. I'd screamed. I'd swore that I would never play it again. But those moments,
which is everything you've done to this podcast too.
That's right. That's right. But those moments, just like I'm assuming will happen with this someday, where you pushed through, you persevered, and you stuck with it, and you made it past another boss. It was
Do you really think you're gonna win this?
Breathed into you. I don't know. It felt impossible on Crash 2 as well, but god damn it, I fucking did it. There was even a level where he rode a little baby polar bear, and like you move the entire time. You're just dodging things going forward, and like Crash 2 was just like my favorite video game ever. That was like that. This kind of one of those fun cartoon character like story mode games. And I still love Crash to this day. I've actually got Crash behind me as well. I got Crash, I got Power Rangers, everything's going on. But love me some Crash Bandicoot.
Nice.
So yeah, Crash Bandicoot 2 specifically was my favorite, but the Crash games, incredible. So, Brian.
Very good. Well, if you're watching us, you'll see that my shirt. If not, I'll describe I'm wearing a Dallas, like an 8-bit helmet of the Dallas Cowboys. This is from one of the greatest sports games, in my opinion, one of the greatest sports football games, the great Tecmo Super Bowl for the Nintendo Entertainment System. This was like early 90s. And it made it kind of extra fun too, Nick, is this was the era where the Dallas Cowboys of the 90s were just about to break it. So this was, the Giants had won the Super Bowl the year prior.
Just before they get Emmitt Smith?
No, they got Emmitt Smith on this game. So Dallas in the game had their core, had the triplets, right? This was like, so the Giants had won the Super Bowl the year prior, and Dallas went on to win the Super Bowl either the year the game came out or the year after, something like that, 91, 92, something like that. So, but just the game itself, it's a very simple to learn game. You pick a play, you run it, you control one player at a time. That's it, per play, and some of the players in the game are legendarily ridiculous to try to, like in this game, they've even made commercials of it even over the last couple of years. Bo Jackson in Tecmo Super Bowl is just fucking ridiculous. Would you play the Raiders in the Tecmo Super Bowl? As soon as Bo Jackson gets the ball, you were fucking panicking. Oh my God, Bo Jackson got the ball because he, 9 times out of 10 he's going to get past you, and once he gets past you in the game, you forget it.
He's gone. Yeah,
he's gone. But just the game itself, so fun. This is before Madden came out. I played this game for hours and hours and hours. I still will go back and play on occasion. It's still a lot of fun. You play the entire schedule. It's great. So the great Tecmo Super Bowl, awesome game on my Mount Rushmore.
Very good.
Dean?
All right. So I had to backtrack, and I will put some of what was on my Mount Rushmore to honorable mentions because, as we said before, Mortal Kombat, you guys had already brought up. So actually, I wanted to change that to, it made me remember getting the original Nintendo Entertainment System. And what did it come with? It came with the two controllers, and what else? The gun.
Yes.
And what came with the gun? Goddamn Duck Hunt / Hogan's Alley.
Hogan's Alley.
You don't remember
that one?
Oh, okay. All right. So Duck Hunt. We all remember Duck Hunt.
Yeah.
Now wait, Duck Hunt was with Super Mario in the same game.
Yes.
Okay.
But
go ahead.
when we got Santa brought Hogan's Alley.
Oh, the separate game. Gotcha. Okay.
Yes. So to me, that all came with together. But Duck Hunt, I mean, who didn't want to shoot that goddamn dog who popped up and laughed at you every time you missed the ducks? Mm-hmm. But like how innovative it was. Like up until '86, you've never had a step, like you couldn't point at your own TV and shoot something.
That was cool.
Yeah.
To this day, I don't know how that goddamn works.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, like your TV and it's not the. Anyways, regardless of the science of it, it was innovative. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And Hogan's
Where's
Alley,
your buddy, the astrophysicist, at? He can come on here and tell us how that damn Duck Hunt works.
Tim wants to come back on. Yeah.
And Hogan's Alley was an actual scenario for like police rookies, like recruiters or whatever, where they had the training to be
thing,
police,
right?
Yeah, and like pops up. Is it good or bad? You shoot it if it's bad.
That's
let it go if it's good. That's the Hogan's Alley. And it was a video game. And the same thing. And it wasn't even like, and it was like true to form, like it would pop up. It was cardboard. Like it had a little thing at the bottom that held. So it wasn't a real person. It was like an actual cardboard thing that popped up. And you were pretending like you were a rookie cop or, in training. And just not only the hours that we spent playing with that alien technology that we just got, but like seeing my father try to deal with that, like just cursing it out and angrily arguing with the inanimate objects. It's just such a good time. So to me, the gun. I wrote down here Hogan's Alley, Duck Hunt, but I'm going to say the gun. The gun game, early gun games of the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Was it the Zapper? Was it called the Zapper?
Yeah, the Zapper. Yep, that's right.
Yep. Excellent.
The Zapper. Nice. Okay, so this one is my personal favorite, sports, one of my favorite sports franchises of all time. This game was a cultural phenomenon to this day. NBA Jam. On when I first played it on a Sega Genesis. You can play it on an arcade. It was across different platforms. But NBA Jam was 2-on-2 basketball with all the NBA teams. All the catchphrases. Boom shakalaka, he's on fire. Is it the shoes? Jams it in. Right. Like all the things the commentators would say. And man, like to this day, so like my kids have one of the kind of like what you were talking about with the new Atari coming out. We have one of those new Sega Genesis that has the HDMI that has wireless controllers and stuff, and it still takes cartridges. So the first thing I went out and did, it's preloaded with like 80 games, but NBA Jam's not one of them. So I went to the exchange and I bought NBA Jam on Sega Genesis, put that sucker in there. Like I absolutely love that game. Just the the ridiculous over-the-top dunks, the ball's on fire, and you get on a streak, and the nets, you shatter the backboard and shit. I mean, it's so much fun. NBA Jam is one of my favorite sports video games ever, bar none. So NBA Jam for me.
What year was that about? 90s?
Oh God, that was probably it was 90,
92, 93.
Because the Bulls, because they didn't have the rights to Michael Jordan, the Bulls were Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant. Those are the two that you had. You didn't because they didn't have the rights to use Michael Jordan. So he was never Michael Jordan was never on a video game before like 2005 or something, because he owned his rights. So even when they owned NBA PA rights, they didn't have Michael Jordan until a certain amount of time. It was like early 2000s before they ever were able to put him on a video game.
Wow.
But yeah.
Very good. Fast forward, he's now a billionaire, literally.
Yeah.
Right.
Shit. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. My next one is also on the Nintendo Entertainment System, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle arcade version. So there's a version in the arcade. The arcade game is fun. That's a great version. The version on the Nintendo is very true to the arcade. Yep. So much fun. Hard, but easy playing.
Very hard.
And that was one that a buddy of mine who says, passed on, rest in peace, Todd, he and I would play this game like a duel. You could play two players at the same time, which is great.
Yep.
So you had two different turtles playing. He and I played that game in the late 80s, hours and hours and hours and hours.
Brian, is that one of the earlier games where you had the split screen? Where one guy's doing this.
No, you're on the same one.
No, this is.
No, I'm not saying the first, but like it's up there. What was the first though? Do you remember?
No, I don't know about that. But this version though, you were playing the turtles were on the screen at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm this turtle and you're this turtle, and we're on the screen fighting together at the same time.
And then when you get past the group of bad guys, you can move on together. Yeah.
Yes.
That's right. Because like if you over here, like in your guys over at the other screen, you're like, dude, come over here so we can keep going. You couldn't move forward because your other guy is.
That's correct.
That's
you got to move.
That's right.
It was a scrolling view, always left to right, left to right, left to right. Sometimes you slow down.
So if you're waiting, you have to wait for this guy to come with you to go forward.
Yes. That's right.
Oliver and I play that game frequently. We played it as recently as 2 days ago. We were playing actually.
Yep.
So yeah, we have it on the PS5, but that's all the old arcade games, and we play it all the time. Yeah.
Love it.
Still fun on the new system because it looks the same and it's the same. It operates the same.
And to defeat Shredder that was one of those things that was an accomplishment. It was teamwork. Teamwork together to defeat. It was a lot of fun. You'd celebrate.
You got to feed the pizzas and stuff. If one of your guys goes out, you can save them. Yep.
That's right. Anyway, great fun. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade version. Great game.
Absolutely.
All right, Dean.
All right. This next one, I wasn't sure exactly what year I remembered, because there has been always from just generic wrestling to like my son has SmackDown
2K whatever
2K whatever, right? I remember the ones from like the 90s, like 98, right? SmackDown Bring It or whatever. But like to me, so I'm gonna actually lump all of those. Like from like, remember the early wrestling games, Starman and The Thing, right? Those are two of the characters from the arcade. What was it? WrestleMania, the arcade game. Where
WrestleMania 2000 or the
no, I'm talking about the original WrestleMania arcade game with like Andre the Giant, $1 Million Man. That version to the 90s version where you could play Hunter Hearst Helmsley, you could play Mankind, from today where it's like fucking realistic. There's actual video storylines. So me being a fan of professional wrestling, throughout the time I'm going to cheat and just say professional wrestling video games in general have always been, choose your one that is depicted on the Mount Rushmore. But you could create a wrestler. So you create yourself, like the image that you have of yourself.
Right. The fantastical, crazy version that you want. Yeah. Right.
And like, I was so pragmatic that I couldn't give myself like ridiculous muscles. I had to give myself the height that I knew I was. Like, I couldn't, in good conscience, make myself absurd. So I was get beat because like I was me, and I would create me just like a wrestling version of me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not good at that stuff, I guess.
I do have a specific one on my honorable mentions for wrestling because to me, there was no wrestling video games were never more fun than on N64. WCW NWO Revenge was perfect. Now the WWE had their own one
block and
developed by
and
THQ
silly.
that was called WrestleMania 2000. They also made No Mercy. That was another one. But the first one that came out like that, the THQ did, was WCW NWO Revenge, and it was just awesome. So
very good. Wrestling games are just always great.
Yeah. So next up on my list, a big one on the PlayStation. This whole franchise is fucking fantastic. They recently, in the last couple of years, re-released it with new graphics, but the original 2 video games, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Those games, again, cultural stamp on people of my generation. It got me into skateboarding single-handedly. Like, I never skateboarding was something Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtles did before Tony Hawk's Pro Skater came out. That immersed me into the world of watching skateboard videos, being obsessed with it, start skateboarding myself, the clothes, the shoes, the style, the music that it turned me on to through those video games. The soundtracks were incredible. Hip hop, punk, metal, everything was on these games, and were super instrumental. So the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater games are incredible. I have a deep love and appreciation for professional skateboarding to this day, like I said, single-handedly due to those video games. So it's hard to go wrong with the original. If I had to pick out one, I'd say THPS1. Tony Hawk's Underground was really good too, but those games, I mean, just through my middle school and high school years were just it. Like, that's hours and hours and hours spent on those video games. So Tony Hawk's Pro Skater for my 4th. Brian?
Very good. I have reached my pinnacle. My top game, again, many hours, a lot of great memories. At the time, I was living with my buddy Cooper, that you guys know. So I got this game. We spent countless. It was one of the very first person shooter games. Kind of took all that to another level. That was in the era of Doom on the Nintendo 64, Nick, that you talked about playing. We had that too. That was a lot of fun. That's up there. Yeah. But I bring you GoldenEye for the Nintendo 64. This is Pierce Brosnan as James Bond. You are going around shooter. You get different guns. You fight different villains.
It was so insane. Like the fucking graphics were amazing.
It was a whole, at the time. You go back and look at it now, it's like a block people, but still at the time.
Back then, it was a whole new
fabulous.
World.
Yeah, well, prior to that, you had Wolfenstein, Duke Nukem, Doom, primarily on PC. Very blocky, very you can make everything out, but very, very blocky. But the 64-bit brought in introduced a whole other element at the time.
Yeah, great classic villains, the music, and then you could play against each other. So now you're going around and you can find each other in mazes of different things. You're shooting against other players and all that stuff.
That actually is the game where I discovered I just blow myself up in the corner. That's the game where I realized, I can just watch my friends play it and still enjoy it.
Yeah. There you go. And I defeated that game. It was one of the video game highlight to defeat that game. Just so much fun.
Nice.
Terrific. GoldenEye.
Fantastic.
Nintendo 64. Dean?
All right, my last one. Very simple. I don't even remember what system it was on. I've only played it like in stand-up and whatever. Burger Time.
Sure.
It was the idea of kind of a Mario or a Donkey Kong setup situation where you have to run over each thing of the burger to drop it down to the next. I don't know why. I love it.
Did you get the orders right and everything?
Yeah. I can't explain it, but fuck, I love that game. I wish I could. I don't have a game system hooked up to my main TV now, but if I did, that's the only game I want. It's just Burger Time, so I can just. I can't even find it on my phone because that would take up like my entire life. But I love fucking Burger Time.
I have a version of that, Dean, on the Atari called Pressure Cooker by Activision. It's just that same type of thing. You got to get the orders right. I saw
that one, but like for some reason, like my OCD brain was like, no, I needed to say Burger Time.
No, that's fine. But same type of deal. But it's good. It's fun. Good.
There's one you can get where you could one of the it's Walmart. We can plug it in the TV and you can play it. But like I'm so cheap as like, $35, this thing, I'm like, nah, I'm all right. I don't need to play it that bad.
$35, my goodness.
You know how much beer I can buy with $35?
That's like one night
3 beers at a Craft House. 3 beers.
Exactly.
Almost. That's right. Oh boy.
Right. I know we're running low on time, so I'm going to go real quick. Fifth and final one. EB Off-Road Fury. If you're not familiar, that was an electric bike simulator made by our friends at RPM Bike Shop. That's right. If you haven't heard of RPM Bike Shop, they have the finest selection of electric bikes to offer you. All you have to do is go to Facebook and type in RPM Bike Shop. You can see all the wonderful electric bikes they have to offer you. You can also go to their website, rpmbikeshop.com, to see all that information and so much more. Or give them a ring ding, 330-808-7792 today to talk to one of their lovely sales associates. And you can be on your own off-road adventure with your electric bike from RPM Bike Shop today. Oh, sorry, I had to get that in. I almost forgot RPM. I had, for my last spot, I had so many, there's been so many years of playing so many different video games and so many meant so much to me. But I landed on this last one just because of at the time that it hit, and it was something truly different at the time to me. The first time I played a Grand Theft Auto game was Grand Theft Auto 3. This was the first, it blew my mind. Sure, there were other games you could go forward, backwards, and roam through, whatever. This was a truly free roam. You could play through the story when you wanted to and go to a special spot and continue on to the story. Or you could let your inner anarchist out and just go steal cars, beat the shit out of people, steal money, kill hookers, whatever.
Dude,
you could do it all day long. And it was like, whatever. You could set things on fire. You could use a flamethrower. You could do what, like, it was wild. Like, you could, to me, Grand Theft Auto peaked at Vice City. Grand Theft Auto Vice City. I can still get around. The map of the entire Vice City is in my head to this day. I know exactly where to tell you to go to get to everywhere in the entire map of Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
That was the 80s one, right?
That was the 80s one. Yeah, it was incredible soundtrack. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. You had more than just cars. Now you have motorcycles. You could fly planes. You could jet skis, the whole 9 yards. But Vice City was incredible. But Grand Theft Auto just struck because I was like, you could just go and do whatever the fuck you wanted in this game.
Yeah.
At all times. And like I said, when you wanted to pick up the story and do another mission, you knew where to go. That was dotted on the map. You could go there and carry on, but for the most part, it was your world. It was your adventure. You do whatever the hell you want, and it was just really cool to me. So that's my last spot. Do you guys have any honorable mentions quickly to go through?
Yes, one at a time. Rattle them off.
Yep,
just rattle them off.
Rattle them off.
Okay, I want to give you Pac-Man Classic.
Sure.
Yep.
Arcade. Yeah. That's one of probably the arcade I played the most as a kid. Yeah,
great.
Huge. Yeah, really did. Huge popper culture. Madden football. Just the different versions of that throughout the years. So much fun. Great version. John Madden, obviously, part of that. Helped you learn the game of football.
That's true.
Literally.
Yeah.
That was his goal. He said, I'm not going to do the video game unless I get to teach the game of football.
And it did.
It really made me a better football fan. And
for sure.
It literally did make you learn the game more, right? So as you watch football, a lot of fans got better because of Madden football, more knowledgeable, I'm trying to say. Yeah. Bosconian, which is a very obscure arcade game. You find a bit low basis. One of my favorite games, though. I have a version of it on the PS2. Love it. And Kaboom was a Atari 2600 game. This is when you have your buckets, you're catching the bombs that this guy's dropping off a building. One of my Tim that you met, his mother, bless her heart, just passed away not long ago, like a year or so ago. They lived across the street from me as a child. She loved that game. There was a lot of hours that I would be hanging out over there, and Tim would be doing whatever. And his mom, Brian, do you want to play Kaboom? Her and I would play Kaboom for many hours together. The fond memories of playing that game with her, love it. That in itself makes my honorable mention. Rest in peace, Kay. Love you, Dean.
Very cool.
Very cool. Oh no, Brian, didn't you want to mention that last one? I don't know. What was that video game where they used to get tattooed?
That's right. That would be the Golden Heart tattoo for the.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It might have been the PlayStation 3, if I'm not mistaken. But relive those moments in person with Scott at Golden Heart Tattoo. Find them on Facebook at Golden Heart Norton, Norton. Give them a call at 234-706-2982. Find them online, goldenhearttattoos.com, and put them on your Mount Rushmore of tattooists, good experience of the year, something like that. So there you have it. Dean, any honorable mentions that you have?
We already talked about it. Mortal Kombat is only honorable mention for me because you guys mentioned it first. But my other honorable mention is me and Tim Finley in our 20s would get drunk and just play Jeopardy for hours upon hours.
Yes, I have that on the Switch right now, actually. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. I fucking loved it because I'm not good at like I've established here in like action games and whatnot, right? So I loved, the trivia and answer the questions. And so, we played for fucking hours. So, I don't remember what, game console we had it for, but Jeopardy is my honorable mention.
I love that game too. Wheel of Fortune too. A lot of fun.
Yep.
Nice.
Nikolai?
A lot of my honorable mentions I've peppered in as we've talked about them, but the only two we haven't mentioned. The first video game I ever played at home, Sonic the Hedgehog on Sega Genesis.
Sure.
Sonic the Hedgehog was, just remember how fast it looked like he was running and going upside down and collecting those rings. It was such a rush. Very cool as a kid. And then all the way up to present day, the best video game I have played in years and years and years is one that I played in the last year. And in the last couple of years, the franchise, the Spider-Man games, the Amazing Spider-Man games are incredible. The first one that came out in 2018, the one game of the year or whatever, so awesome, so realistic. The storyline, brilliant, incredible. It's like watching a movie, a Spider-Man movie, and you don't know where it's going to take you next. And then Spider-Man Miles Morales that came out in 2020 that was coincided with the launch of the PS5. I got with my PS5 last Christmas. That's probably the most fun storytelling video game I've ever played in my entire life. So both video games are solid. We all play, and it's a lot of fun for me to play with Lane and Oliver. We all take turns with the controller and play through the story together. It's kind of a fun thing, and the story's so good and so immersive. And like I said, it's like watching a movie. Spider-Man 2, where Miles and Spider-Man team up against Kraven and Venom, coming out in October. I have it pre-ordered at GameStop, so we can't wait for that to come out October 20th, as a matter of fact. Those Spider-Man games are incredible. The graphics are unreal, unlike anything you've ever seen. The story is so well thought out. Everything's just awesome in those games. Super easy to control, and a lot of fun. Very realistic. So that's about it for me.
All right, I need one last honorable mention. Carter I got him for Santa. Got it last year for Christmas. The show, MLB The Show.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember what it was, 20, 21, 22, whatever. Yeah. But I think it was like 22. But like you can play, like you can create your own all-star team, and you can go through like literally the history of baseball. You can have Mike Trout and fucking Babe Ruth on the same team.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, like a legacy thing. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And he does these home run derbies where him and I, and again, same as when I was a teenager, I'm watching my friends play it. I sit there and watch him play it. So I just go there and like recommend like who I want in the home run derby, and he does the physical playing. But yeah, you can play all of that. It's so cool. So yeah, nice. The show, MLB The Show, all of it. So that's
very cool.
I'm done.
There it is.
Very good.
From beginning to end. Video games, we've worked our way around here. We've gone through the years and the eras of video games, so good stuff.
Very good. Guys, I have one more question here. So,
okay.
The video game you defeated that was one of your, it could be others, it could be many, but it was like one of your better video game accomplishments. Like the game was maybe hard to defeat or something like that. So, Nick, does any come to mind for you that you beat the game and it's like, wow?
Yeah, I think for me, it probably was Crash Bandicoot 2, which I mentioned earlier, just because I mean, there were so many times I was willing to walk away from it. I was like,
Crash
fuck it, I'm done.
2,
I can't.
Electric Boogaloo.
I can't do this anymore. I can't deal with this. Like, apparently I can't do it. But you keep coming back, new eyes, you keep trying it, and eventually I busted through. So that was probably my favorite. Other games and story modes and things, I've put it on like easier modes to, when it gets so hard, and I'm like, well, I just want to get to the end, whatever. Certainly sports games, especially with the NHL games, like I used to be able to play NHL on the very hardest level and still win easily every single game. So there were times I would say one of my greatest accomplishments is on NHL 2003 and 2009 were two that I played a lot. I think on 09 I played through 3 full seasons. So I'm playing 82 games and I'm playing preseasons and I'm playing best of 7 playoff series. 3 years of that. So that was probably more, not necessarily because it was difficult, but just dedication to the cause. That was
sure.
I was pretty impressed with the amount of time. I don't know if that's impressive or sad, but that was the amount of time that I put into the video game to go through 3 entire seasons is quite a feat.
Very good. So, Dean, have you ever beat a video game?
No. What about you?
Yes. Unless this video game's named Dick. Beat that all the time.
Well, the hardest games I beat in the Nintendo Entertainment System also was the Batman video game. This is based on the Batman movie, so this is late 80s. Those games back then for the Nintendo, there's no fucking save.
Right.
So you are just
keep going.
You're in it to win it or lose it, regardless how long it takes. And to get all the way through that fucking game and get to the Joker.
Yep.
And somehow I still remember he pulls out this super long gun that just kicks your ass and all that stuff. I know I made it to the Joker before and lost. It's just like, fuck. And to get back to him again, you got to start all over and work your way through the entire game, which is not easy. You're talking, this is hours of time. The time when I beat the Joker, and it gave you like a clip from the movie where, Michael Keaton, he throws the Joker off the ledge and shit like that. I mean, all that was in the game and everything, but that was like, yes, anyway, one of the hardest games I ever beat. Another question on the other side of it. A game that you kept trying to beat, Nick, never could do it, and eventually just said, fuck it. You just could not do it. Or you ran out, or you got another game or whatever it is, but you never made your way back.
I have an answer to that.
To win.
All of them?
Dean. Yeah, yes.
No.
Go ahead, Dean.
Life.
We'll start with you then.
Oh,
Life.
Yeah. Fuck it.
It is a motherfucker.
I finally said, fuck it. I don't give a shit.
Yep.
No
cheat code there.
No.
I made it to I did make it to the last level of Aladdin on Sega Genesis where you face Jafar.
Mm-hmm.
But I had never beat that level. I did have to live vicariously through a friend of mine in high school. Her name was Sam. We found my old Sega Genesis and we brought it out, and she played every level of that game, and I watched her beat Jafar.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like you mentioned, it was one of the...
You're a real fucking loser, you know that?
My heart's racing, and I'm watching my friend do that. I'm like, yes, you got it. And she does it. And it's just like, oh my God. Like, I've been here, but she's doing it. And I'm like, oh my God, you're going to do it. You're going to beat Jafar. You're going to do this. And like, it was
Did you switch roles and later watch? Did she get to watch you make a goddamn sandwich or something?
I was over in the corner buttering my buns. Yeah, but no, there's quite a few games that I eventually got to a point where I'm just like, I can't get past this. Like I get discouraged and I just walk away from
it. For me, I still have the game system to the Super Nintendo. This was the system after the Nintendo Entertainment System, before Nintendo 64. I have motherfucking Super Star Wars. You ever play that game?
Super Star Wars?
No.
Super Star Wars. It's actually a lot of fun. Well, fun / frustrating, whatever you want to say. But they had all three. They had Super Star Wars, Super Empire Strikes Back, Super Return of the Jedi. Now, Empire Strikes Back, they eventually had a code. That was one of the first games I can recall that you had a code to pick up where you left off.
Okay. Oh, okay, yeah. Like that wasn't safe.
That wasn't safe. Exactly. So you defeated a level. It gave you a code. You literally had to write down the fucking code, because if you didn't write it down, sorry.
Right.
But Super Star Wars did not have any code. There's ways you can get like bonus lives and all that type of stuff, but just that constant, continuous. You start out as Luke Skywalker and you go through different phases of the movie. Now there's different levels you beat, and you go on to the next level, and then the next maybe you get to play Han Solo in the next level, stuff like that. But it didn't save it. That game, I got so far, never could get all the way to the Death Star and blow up the Death Star. Like last year or so, I still have it. I hooked up to my big TV. I thought, you know what? It's gonna be fun. I'm gonna sit down. This is gonna be a nice retro evening by myself.
You're just mad.
I'm just gonna I haven't played this game in so long. Super Star Wars. I want to have it. Enjoy this. Sit down. I got me a drink or something like that. I put that game in, and I instantly reverted back to that kid, like, this motherfucking game. It couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
Is it one of the most frustrating games that's ever existed, in my opinion.
Some things stay frustrating.
That's right.
Much like the show. If you're listening.
That's right. That's right. Well, similar, guys, to the old Nintendo Entertainment System, there's no save. This is a continuously flowing game.
And flawed.
That's right. Like it or not, it's continuing to move. But you have, if you're continuing to listen or watch, you out there have indeed beat this game tonight and made it to the end of another episode of Convincing Idiots. Nick,
congratulations.
That's right.
That's right. Congratulations, you have made it to the end of this episode of Convincing Idiots. If you would like to continue your journey, you may find us on all of your favorite social media platforms. To do so, we would like to suggest that you go to our Convincing Idiots link tree. Just Google Convincing Idiots, LANKTREE, and you will find all of our social media accounts. All that and so much more on our website, convincingidiots.wordpress.com, is where we can be found on the interwebs. So, for this episode of Convincing Idiots, I am Millennial Nick.
I'm Zennial Dean.
JetX Brian.
Have we convinced you to press start on the next episode of Convincing Idiots? Hey, did you like that video? You know you did, and we know you did. So stop screwing around and go like that video, subscribe to our channel, and join us for some more.